5 months into this pandemic, and something weird is happening in Canada's real estate market. In a deep freeze for months, followed by a red hot July in key cities like Toronto and Vancouver. Housing prices surging, but growing concerns perhaps over the condo market. New towers are popping up all over the place, it seems, leading to worries there could be a growing glut or people leery of making big purchases at times of instability, or possibly an opportunity as well in a crisis. Chris Bibby is my guest, leading real estate agent in the city of Toronto, watching the market very closely over the past few months. Hey, Chris, good to have you on the show.
Hello, Todd. Thanks for having me on.
It must be a real roller coaster for real estate agents right now.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen quite a bit of change. We started the year off quite strong. January and February were quite active, and by mid-March, literally everything was put on pause for a couple of months. In the summertime, what would typically be a slower period for agents, we have a delayed spring market, which has been quite robust.
So tell me about that, because, it sounds like people are buying out there. It might be counterintuitive for some people, and yet others might say, you know what, this is a great time to buy, or just sort of like pent-up demand, Chris.
Absolutely pent-up demand. I mean, we had, at least 2 months of little to no activity. At one point, the sales were down by about 90%. And I think during this time, a lot of homeowners, buyers, sellers, even renters, had a lot of time for personal reflection in terms of how they want to live. So we're seeing quite a bit of change right now. And, as the conditions in the city throughout the pandemic have improved and we're in stage 3, people are using this as an opportunity to make those decisions and changes in their lives. And we've seen quite a bit of change throughout, the province.
Tell me a little bit about houses versus condos. Is it sort of a different scenario for those two?
Absolutely. And I mean, what we've noticed is quite a few people now are looking to make a transition into freehold properties. The idea of shared accommodations, common element spaces are not as appealing as they used to be. So we have quite a few people looking to get their own front door and their own backyard. We've obviously, as well, had quite a few people leave the city. So for more land, we've had clients retire. A lot of downsizers and empty nesters are leaving the city to move up north or, to smaller areas. We've seen quite a bit of change throughout the province.
Also, I'm curious just about sort of, immigration has been affected, as you know, Chris, because of the pandemic, and whether that means that, foreign investors, people thinking of coming to Canada, well, they're just not coming right now. And so they're not going in and buying properties wherever it might be in the country.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great point, Todd. And our condo market, for a long time has been fueled by, immigration and obviously the employment in the city. So the freehold market, while we haven't seen an increase in supply, we have a constant increase of supply in condominiums. So we're in a new period which we're not accustomed to, where we're starting to see, as the weeks and months go by, an increasing amount of supply, which hasn't been so typical for us.
There are new towers going up in Toronto and in Vancouver and in Montreal, as you know, and elsewhere. A lot of condos coming on the market. Are you concerned about a glut?
I'm always concerned. I have to be. So, I mean, looking back, in 2008, I mean, we can't generalize the condo market. I mean, you have very small boutique buildings that are mainly owner occupied with low turnover. And typically those buildings will weather any type of uncertainty quite well. In the high-rise towers that are mainly investor, driven and tenanted, those are the buildings we have to keep an eye on, and those were the buildings that in 2008, 2009, were more susceptible to any type of fluctuation in price. I think as well, we've had so much, an increase in supply now from short-term rentals, which have obviously reached their limits in some buildings. So as this supply starts to come on, as well as, new construction, we need to monitor how quickly it gets absorbed.
If someone's watching us right now, Chris, and they were thinking about putting their house on the market, but they're saying, gosh, with COVID, I don't know, does it make sense? What would your advice be?
Well, we have to look at their maybe 6 to 12-month outlook. And, while it would be typical of a real estate agent or salesperson to say now is the best time, I mean, these are the best conditions we've had, throughout the pandemic. Consumer confidence is higher, than obviously it's been in the previous stages we've had. So I think In stage three, as we've had plenty of, the weather is nice, everyone has been out quite active and is, accustomed to wearing masks. This is our peak market right now. I think as we head into the fall, there are some unknowns. Obviously, with schools resuming, when the cooler weather comes, we're uncertain as to whether, potentially towards the end of the year, if there could be a spike in cases, do we take a step back? As well as, various wage subsidy programs reach their limits, as well as, mortgage deferrals reach their limits. There's just some unknowns. So, at this point, the market has appeared to be relatively predictable, and in some cases, frustrating for certain buyers, as we're still seeing bidding wars in the freehold market. But, at the current moment, this is probably as good as it's going to be for the year, in my opinion.
Chris Bibby, leading real estate agent in the city of Toronto, with his read on buy, sell, surge or freeze. Hey, good to see you, Chris. Thanks for coming on
Good
the
to see you,
program
Todd.
today. All the best.
Thank you for having me.